save your changes locally. Everybody kind of got that. So I'll just do it. Let's see what happens. Yeah, you all shouldn't have a problem with this. It's just I created 2 accounts. Okay, we are live. Let me put this over here. Okay, so what I wanted to show you, actually first let's dive into a word of prayer. Dear God, thank you for this day. Thank you for everything you've given us, and help today to be productive. And just at the end of it, my hope is that everyone has a website that they love, and please, if you could make that happen, that would be more than what you've already done, which is everything. In your name I pray, amen. All right, so hold on. Let me close my door. Okay. So I got the portal working. Kind of figured it out. So when you're in the sign-in page on Web Launch Academy here, you can now sign in and you can do the video. So you just click this with your username and password. You go to collaboration, and then you go down to group coaching right here. Should have this stuff here, microphone ready, camera ready. If you don't have this stuff saying that it's ready, you just go in here in this little thing. I recommend going into Google Chrome as well as your web browser for this. It's a little bit easier to just navigate. Also, I'm just, that's what I'm using. So your interface will be mostly the same. So you just go down here and you can allow your devices to be captured by this. So you just go there. Oops, clicked out of everything. Continue to session. And then join meeting. And then you should have this. You should have this little thing going here. And I don't really need to start the timer actually, because it's just it's one of these lectures. There's not actually a time limit, but have that timer there. And so hopefully everyone can see the timer too, but if not, that's okay. And so today we'll be going over, I'll basically just be correcting what I missed in the previous lesson. So this is where we left off in the previous lesson. There was audio technical difficulties. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go through the rest of this last lesson and add audio while it's going through. It's going to be a little bit awkward because I'm not just like doing things as they happen, but hopefully you'll kind of like get the gist of what's going on, and I'll be able to re-add audio in kind of in as most unnatural way as possible. So we'll just get started. So you can find, if you're on your other recording and this is split, just keep note like this is the audio, and I'll have to like merge those two together, but for now just keep in mind that this is like a fix for it, okay? So here we go. Okay, so right now this is the part where I was trying to figure out how to connect two accounts. You shouldn't have to worry about this. This is actually not really relevant to you, but I mean, it is kind of useful to go through this just because you can see like, okay, trial and error. You just kind of like, what Claude will do is it'll give you options, and usually the options are like, okay. It's not always the best to follow Claude for everything, sometimes it'll get into like a test loop, but usually not within VS Code. It's usually the test loops you have to watch out for when you're developing your website. So sometimes it'll be like, oh, your website isn't quite working here, and let me run a bunch of these tests and console. So like the hallmark of a test loop is it will just run a bunch of console.logs. And I could even show you. I showed most of you what a console.log is before. Okay, so this is where I'm going into settings. Oh, it's because it's saying I need an SSH key, but no. Yeah, so I'm not missing. Yeah, we're still on this thing, so we're not missing anything. Yeah, console.log is when you go into your web browser and hit F12. So you can hit F12 here. These are all your console.logs going. So you just have to watch out for a console.log kind of thing. So, but usually, I mean, you go through this kind of thing, and you just kind of follow what Claude is telling you to do, and you can also add context. Anytime you can add context to Claude and say, hey, this isn't working. There's this error that I'm seeing. Copy and paste your errors, all of them if needed. Like, you'll see errors in this thing. You'll see errors in your console.logs sometimes. And you'll see errors in sometimes like the deployment in Vercel. And we'll probably get into that actually. We might actually get into that today. But for now, we're just going to follow along here and add some audio. Yeah, so it's giving us options to like pull and merge, pull origin main, or force push. And I wanted to do pull and merge because I saw that there's a README file already in there. And so I just added context. I made sure, oh yeah, the license is in there. So I think the way to go is a pull dot is a merge, right? Pull and merge, yeah. So that's what I did, and figured it was the right thing to do. I think that was corrected. Yeah, so hopefully I'm just checking the audio now. I am adding audio to this. So I can see my little volume going up there. So git push origin main. Okay. So now I just realized there's two cursors flying around. So, okay, so now, yeah, you're seeing everything in GitHub here, so that's great. Obviously, when you do the correct git command, and you save that, usually a push, you'll see those files updated in there. And so now we're going into Vercel, and you know, this will be blank for you, but for me there's obviously a bunch of stuff in there. There's the Power of the Prompt project, and that's the Web Launch Academy thing. So what you do is you add new project. This is, that's my GitHub repository. You'll want to add a GitHub account. And so going back, just making sure everybody gets that. This is the home page. So you're going to do add new project, okay? Not domain, not store, not any of that stuff. It's project, okay? Again, that's the GitHub repository. You want to add that if you don't see it. And then what you have to do is you actually have to add it within GitHub. So you have to actually give permission to see it. And so right now it's saying, oh, no results found. So what you have to do is you have to configure it in GitHub. And what it will also do is it will tell you, hey, you need to download the GitHub app in order to give permissions. So it's like, it asks you confirm, and so it's asking you use GitHub Mobile, which is your app. So it's an authentication system, and hopefully it's super secure. Hopefully you never lose your phone, or nobody hacks you and gets access to this. This is a good way to authenticate. And then you'll see here that you have to allow within here. So you have to actually configure your settings in GitHub, and I'll find that soon enough. But I'm like, okay, I'm trying to figure it out here. I'll figure it out eventually. Then I'm like, oh wait, it's in this other screen. I think I pull it in eventually because I realize I can allow that stuff to be shown. You always have to be careful with what you're showing on screen. Like, it's always like the worst thing you can do probably is show like all of your environment variables on a recording, because then it's like, then you have to replace all of them. So here it says only select repositories. You could select all repositories if your only project is going to be your financial website, but I do select repositories just because I'm going to have a lot of them, and I might even have repositories that aren't necessarily mine, not necessarily my projects, so that's why I do that. And so here we have this new project. We're deploying it. This is the process of deployment. Right now we can add our environment variables, and so again, super important to keep your environment variables secure. I don't know what I'm doing with the cursor right there, honestly. Trying to find. I don't know why I went there. I really don't know why I did that. I think I'm trying to close some things out, make some room for. I should be getting open the VS Code. That's what I was thinking I would be doing. Where's my cursor? I'm probably talking. Probably talking here, like telling you something important. I can't remember what it was. Okay, so we're in the GitHub. Oh, I'm talking about the get ignore. Yeah. So the get ignore will that should include your environment variables. So that way they don't get exposed on GitHub, right? Remember we had public as one of the settings in GitHub. And so yeah, you want to have a get ignore saying don't push the GitHub files into GitHub. We want those to be stored locally only and in Vercel. So directly in the host. Oh yeah, I need to create environment variables first. So Airtable should have all of our environment variables that we need so far. There might be some others. I'd have to double check. There's so many environment variables that I've added that it's hard to track. And basically what environment variables are is they are, let me make sure I don't have any comments in here. Yeah, so if you wanna comment or ask any questions, make sure you go into the portal, this portal thing, and do that. But you know, just setting up your table here. So you got your Ramsey coach. That's the name of your base. You know, you're going to want to change your table name from table 1 to something else. You're going to want to change these. You know, if it's your client table name, maybe first name, last name, address, email, phone number, all that stuff, and then you have to include your types and things like that. So I'm naming this table, I don't know, you can name it whatever you want as long as it's consistent within your code. So free consultations table, and then each record is called a lead, so they're not paying clients yet. That's a decent name. But you can have all these different record types. I actually don't know where the record types are referenced. It doesn't seem super important to name them anything specific, at least from what I've seen, but you know, just name it something that makes sense to you and be consistent. That's the main thing. Be consistent with your naming. So you can import existing files, or you can have a temp, like just a new table. And what that can do is it can do a number of things as long as you give it the correct permissions. So what this obviously can do is store information. It's just you could use it like just an Excel spreadsheet, and you could store your client information data. But what you can also do, which is really cool, is store data that you want to display on your website, and you can display it directly from your website. So you don't even have to, you know, add it in your code. You can just put it on Airtable and then fetch the data, and the data in your Airtable will show up within your website, and you can format it in all kinds of ways that you want. And it's really cool. So it's really good for things like testimonials, because what you can do is you can say, hey, I'm going to ask for a testimonial, or you can just provide a place where your clients that you've had can provide a testimonial, and then they can add the testimonial, and then you can get permission from them to like edit and all that stuff. And so you can edit within your table when they submit it. So you'll get that data from them immediately. It will show up in your Airtable, and then you can edit it and format it how you want. And then your website can fetch that testimonial data and put it on your website. So you don't have to, you don't have to configure everything differently. You can reuse a template in your website, and it'll pull that data and show up in the same way. And you can add as many as you want. You can approve as many testimonials as you want, and you can just kind of have that access in there. So you go into, oh, I should probably make sure. Let me go back just a ways. And thus I show you how to do this. So make sure, if you can read this, go into airtable.com/create/tokens/new. That's where your environment variables are. So they're called access tokens in here. And so what you do is you create an access token, which will be your environment variable. I'm saying environment variable a lot. You're probably like sick of that word, that phrase. So these are the scopes. So these are basically the permissions. So because we are going to have so many permissions in terms of like not only storing data, but also showing the data in our website, because we have that testimonial sections, and we also have the booking section. So we actually are going to use both of those sections to pull data and to store data. So for the booking session, right, you don't want double bookings. So you have to keep track of when your clients click on a booking time, right? So if they add, hey, Tuesday at 3:30, you don't want multiple people clicking that same box. So you have to track that, and so that'll be stored in Airtable. And what it can also do is it will gray out the booking slot in your website. So you will have a reference to that. You can have reminders. Hey, you got an appointment Tuesday at 3:30, and your clients can also see, oh, that's grayed out. That's no longer available. And so it works both ways. It gives you information, it gives your clients information, and that will update dynamically as people select more of your time slots. They will be grayed out. You will be notified. They will be notified. You can have email automation set up through there, all of that stuff. So super, super important, super awesome, just awesome system. And, I'm super excited to show you how it works because it's so cool. It's just so cool. You can do all of this stuff, and you can do it for free as a startup. Eventually you'll have to, hopefully you will have to upgrade because your site is getting so much traffic. So these are the permissions that you need. So data.records, so data.records read, data.records write, and schema bases read. And that's so that you can, your website can pull that data in. And if anyone asks, like, what's the point of not adding permissions? It's just more security. So you only want to add the permissions that you need. Okay, because every you know, the more permissions you add, if somebody hacks your account, the more that they can do, right? So it's just kind of like making sure, okay, don't give too many permissions, just allow the permissions that are needed. Okay, so I'm saying, oh yeah, I gotta add another scope. Remember that schema? Schema.bases read and write permissions. And you're going to want to add access to, the specific base, which is, in this case, it's the Ramsey coach table. And for you, it could be add all resources because, depending on, I don't know if you'll want to have multiple bases, but if you have multiple sites, then obviously you have multiple bases. And it's good practice to keep them all separate. So I gave everyone a quick reference table. All right, so here is the so that's the end. And we added those environment variables. So let me get to our Ramsey coach thing. So cd. Oh, actually, we go directly into the files section. I'm going to take a little bit break. First, I'm going to take a break. So Okay, I'm back, and I'll start the other thing too if anybody's on there. Set up virtual. Okay, everything is showing. Okay, so we go in our no, that's not it. Open folder. Go in here. We got an update. It's always good to check for, your updates, restart when necessary. Keep a mindful eye on like these things anytime there's like uncommitted files or modified files. Make sure those are saved. And if you're like, wait a second, it's not saving, or it's not, I don't see them in my GitHub, just check this and make sure that everything is committed. So this is my example. Yeah, I didn't open this. Honestly though, I have so few environment variables in here, it's not like, it wouldn't be a big deal. It would be a big deal if I showed them in the Web Launch Academy, because that has like the Supabase environment variables. So I've actually done that once, where it wasn't like, I probably could have gotten away with it. It wasn't like they didn't show up in GitHub. They showed up within within Claude because I asked a question and I copied them copied them into there. Yeah, don't do that. If you're asking a question to Claude about your environment variables, don't copy and paste your all of your environment variables and ask a question. Just, if you want, you can just copy like the name of your environment variable and be like, hey, or and sometimes even like the first few characters of the environment variable, because then it'll put, usually if you keep the names the same though, you can just copy and paste the name, and then it'll tell you, the answer to your environment variable question. Don't ever copy and paste or anything like that. But I had to, because I did that, I had to redo my entire Supabase thing. And that was such a pain. Holy moly. So, what are we going to do? Actually, I think what would be good is just taking a look at our site. Just taking a look at it. So let's run the test. So just first of all, just to review, this is how you run the test. So you do that npm run dev, and then you run your localhost, and this is where your localhost shows up too. So you can also click this little button, open in browser. See, it says open in browser when you go on there. You can also copy the local address, do localhost, and copy that in your browser. But here's our site, here's our image. This is like, I was like looking at this when we, you know, just alone, and I was thinking, man, this is such a good, like, baseline website. Like, obviously there's work to be done, but, you know, all of these buttons work. I think what we want to add is a, you know, it's a section for like book your free consultation. So we can add that. And let's do that now actually. Let's not forget to add things. So we go Claude. Can you add a navigation link, and then you specify what the name is, right? Booking or consultation. This site. And you just naturally put it in there, and it will code that for you. And so you can watch this in real time too, maybe. Let's see if it goes up. Takes a little while, but it should work. I'll give it no more than, oh, you know what? It's probably asking for permission. Yeah. I gotta actually give it permission to modify. Yes. Okay, now. There it is. And notice it added it in the right spot, right? It didn't add it like over here, because it has the context to know, okay, home will obviously go first, testimonials, then consultation, and then contact. It didn't add it over here. It didn't add it all the way over here. That's what's cool about AI. It has the context to actually know what you mean. And so the more context you give it, the better it is. So, and then it kind of gives you like, perfect, I can see there's a booking/consultation section on the home page with ID booking. I'll add a consultation navigation link that points to this section. So it even shows you kind of like what it's thinking. Okay, like that seems to be what you mean, right? And you could say, if it got it wrong, hey, you got it wrong, just move it, you know, and you can just dictate what you want. Okay, so it says done, changes, added consultation, positioned it, right? And it works on both desktop and mobile. So that is how that's how you add things, that's how you know, that's how you do that. That's how you modify your website, right? And this is your header. This is your section, your first section, your second section, third section. And so you can, it's important to know these things so that you can modify as needed to Claude and use precise terminology, right? Here's your footer. So if you want Claude to modify something in your footer, you say, in my footer, you know, modify this or add my location, street address, city, you know, state, zip, whatever. But anyways, I mean, this is cool. So we don't have our environment variables set up yet, so this will produce an error. Totally expected, right? So we will we'll add those very soon. And we'll do everything in our testing environment first. But ready to take control. So this is the book free consultation. This is our calendar modal that pops up. Pretty nice. Right, you can select the different months. Might want to make it like not bounce around like that. It's kind of funny. It's like, it's minor, but it does add a different UI, UX, you know, a user experience. So notice I can't select anything back. Gotta go forward, and that was all specified within our template, our initial prompt for this, and it was super detailed. If you'll remember that lesson, it was super detailed. Claude kept asking for clarifications back and forth, and this is what this produced. This normally isn't produced this well. If you don't spend time on your first prompt, you'll have a lot of stuff that you know, it works, but it's not as good. So if you select a day, notice there's no time slots detected because we are in our initial prompt, we said we want to grab this data from Airtable. So this is expected. This is good. Once we add Airtable, this stuff will work, and it'll grab that data and it'll propagate all of those time slots onto here. So for now we can, you know, it's good to have multiple different buttons too. Like if the user is confused at any point. Oh, the other thing that you want to consider with these modals, sometimes the user will click out of here accidentally. And then if you don't add that, you know, especially in contact forms. So our contact form isn't a modal, it's a page. But if you have this in a modal and you click and the user clicks out and it goes away, you're going to want to save this data, right? And so just be aware of that. If you click out of the modal, the user might be annoyed and you might actually lose a client because their data isn't saved. They just put in a bunch of work, a bunch of information. They accidentally click out. Oh, brother, the data didn't save. They go back in. They're like, I don't want to fill that out again. You know, I'll leave it for tomorrow or whatever. Right? And so it's super important. Just be aware of those modals. This is a page, so this doesn't really matter. You don't have to worry about that. But so this is all good. This all looks good. So when your user sends you information here, this will show up in Airtable hopefully, and all of that is done through the environment variables. So what this does is it goes back to here. So I think what we want that button to do is actually just open up this thing, like either go back into this page and automatically open this up, or just open up the same modal, book free consultation. So what I would do to make sure Claude does that is I would go in my contacts and I would copy this page, because this is where we are, and I would say in this contact page, and so I'll just demonstrate this. In the contact page, I want the button for booking free consultations to have the same functionality as the button in the home page. I don't want it to just navigate to the home page. Do you understand? And I'll actually say have the same functionality and bring up the same modal for, let's see, calendar modal. Calendar modal for booking. Proper commas in there. Bring up as the button in the home page. I don't know if I need to say do you understand? I'll just do that. I think it'll understand. And that's a little bit more of a, so what it does is it updates the contact page. Check the current contact page implementation. I can see the button currently just navigates to the home page. I'll update the contact page. Same booking modal component. So this doesn't look like it's modifying the button with a calendar, right? You would expect more. But actually what it did was it just created, so in the beginning, the calendar is all coded. The calendar modal is coded and the booking modal is coded as a component. And what a component means is that it can reuse the component. So it doesn't have to recode a new calendar every time. That calendar is now a reusable component. So what it does is it just says import dynamic const booking modal. And it imports from the components from where the booking modal code is stored. And so that's all the code that it needs. It just needs to import this into this particular place, right? And so let's see if it works. Oh yeah, it says edit. Yeah, so I have to approve the edit before it works, right? Otherwise, it hasn't made any changes. And so it also has to update this on click, open booking modal, and that's the button. So yeah, everything looks good. And like I said, you don't actually have to know what the code means. You just kind of have to, it's nice to know kind of like what the context is and what's kind of happening, right? It's not like if you told me, hey, can you code this on your own? I wouldn't be able to do this. I kind of understand what's going on from a broad, general perspective. Booking modal is open, and now it adds the closing functionality, right? So we're just updating our web page little by little. And I'm not going to update it like crazy. I think those two updates are pretty much enough for everyone to see kind of how to make updates, how to make fixes, how to make changes. So you just spell out what you kind of want, you add enough context, and it should work. Added state, change the link to a button. So it's not just a navigation link anymore, it should actually be a button, and let's see if it works. It does. It's the same exact functionality, and it's giving you an error. Hey, there's no Airtable environment variables configured. That's expected. So no available times. That's totally fine. So here's our footers. Our footers and our header are always going to be there, right? That's the cool thing about these. They stay with you no matter what page you're on. So you can go to contact us. So that's the contact page that we're already on. And it creates a privacy policy, which is pretty good actually. Obviously it says this is a placeholder. It's not good to just, give AI legal, you know, your legal questions and to just have that legal advice on its face and not consult with anything, but it's pretty good. Claude, I don't think I don't think there's a whole lot more that you need. You're obviously going to want to tailor it to your specific coaching method. And if you're what kind of data you collect from your clients. But this is a pretty good start. It's like, man, who needs lawyers anymore? But, I'm not a lawyer. I can't say that this is like all you'll need. So obviously even here it says, make sure you consult with a legal advisor first. All good advice. And okay. Nature of coaching. So yeah, you're obviously gonna wanna make sure all that's good. Facebook link. Oh, that's funny. It actually just navigates to terms of service. So those links are they're not really navigating anywhere. They're just navigating up to the home. So obviously, it's a baseline website. You gotta add that stuff, but oopsies. Other than that, I don't think there's really too much. We could, we only have like 3 minutes, so I think we'll just end early. I'll close in a word of prayer, and hopefully some of that was new. And tomorrow, I think we'll try to set up our environment variables and get some functionality going. At least in the testing environment. I don't know if we'll get the Vercel hosting environment going, but we'll definitely do the testing environment with those environment variables, and then we'll have a good working website very soon. All right, let me just close in a word of prayer. Heavenly Father, this is so much fun. Thank you for allowing us to be creative and just making really cool stuff. It's a lot of fun. I love doing this, and I thank you for anybody who's listening and getting something out of this. And I just pray that you would help me help these people. In your name I pray, amen. One little note at the end here is I was told in the Ramsey Coaching social network that my posts were reported as solicitous. So I'm not going to be posting anymore. I think this will be the only time that I do a Ramsey Preferred Coaching website session. There's not really a way for me to advertise like my Web Launch Academy stuff in there. So there's not really a reason for me to get this specific anymore. So if my ask is that everyone here, if you got something out of this, that you kind of spread the word because I do care about the Ramsey preferred coaching community. I think everybody in there needs a website. uh, because like it's very hard to make money as a Ramsey preferred coach. It's just it's not a job that is like that makes a lot of money for a lot of people. And so I think having your own website where you own your site, you don't have to pay, a hosting fee right up front. I think that's going to be a huge help. So I did post today and just kind of I have like kind of a funny post where I'm like I got diamond status, and that's kind of the funny thing. I got diamond status at the same time that they were like, hey, your posts are uh, marked as solicitous or spam or whatever. And so, like, I have a funny post up there saying, like, hey, I got diamond status. And, it's just one of those things. But, so, it would mean a lot to me if anybody who's doing this and is getting a lot out of this, if you could spread the word for me, because I can't anymore in that community. And I think this is something that is so helpful for Ramsey Preferred Coaching. And I really don't do it for the money. I mean, obviously, it would be great if I can get money out of this eventually. But for right now, I just need people to know about that. There's another way to get a website, and so that's my ask. Um, I know it's a lot to ask. Taking time to post. It's a lot to ask. Asking for your time is the biggest thing that I could ask for, and it's the biggest thing that you could give. But you know, that's what I ask. So if you could consider doing that, I would be super grateful. Doing it within the RPC community specifically is going to be super helpful, but on all social media, if you could just say like if especially when you get your working website, to be like, hey, I got my working website from Web Launch Academy with no hosting fees, no nothing. And if you could just kind of like kind of tout your own website and just be just be excited about having your own website. I think that'll come naturally. But if you have to fake it, go ahead. Anyway, that's it. It's 3 minutes over. I just thought I'd ask that. Now that we're done, thank you for everyone who tuned in, and really appreciate you. And have a good day. All right, thanks a lot. Bye.